Good evening to all of you again. So we will start. I think from last lesson I said we will start an exercise when we start the class where we will learn how we pronounce different words, right? So especially I just wanted to focus on this because sometimes when we pronounce, we do not do properly, especially when there is this kind of a silent letter, right? So if we take words like what, when, maybe yes, we do pronounce it properly, but when it comes to words like honest, here this H should be silent, but some have been practicing to pronounce it as honest, but which is not correct. So we have to pronounce it as honest, right? So likewise, we did this, the silent H, this part last Monday. So today I thought we will learn to pronounce the words in which they have a silent T, right? So silent T. So you can see all the silent T's are highlighted in red. So I will just read them once for you. Maybe most of you might know it, but just to make sure that all of you are clear about it, I will read it for you first, and then each one of you can repeat it after me, right? Okay, so I will start. Which, fasten, castle, watch, butcher, scratch, listen, match, Christmas, mortgage, soften, often, right? So you would have noticed that when we have which, we actually do not pronounce the T, but we pronounce it as which. It is like we are simply pronouncing W-I and C-H, but we have to write, when we write, we have this T, right? And also if we consider a word like listen, right? So we do not say listen, we say listen, right? So the T is silent, right? Soften, and especially mortgage, right? So sometimes I have heard some people say mortgage, but it is not mortgage, it should be mortgage, right? So all these T's should be silent, right? So before starting to read by all of you, I hope you know who is a witch. So witch is a female person, or we can say someone like a lady, but who is having bad powers, right? So that person is not good. It is a female who is doing bad things. Something like that person has some magical powers which she uses for bad things, right? And I think the others, the butcher, I think you know what do we mean by butcher. That is a person who sells meat, right? And scratch, listen, and mortgage. So what do we mean by mortgage is, uh, let's say that I want to buy a house, right? So I want to buy a house, but I do not have enough money, right? So in that case, I can go to the bank and ask them to give me money so that I can pay for the house. But I will have to pay it back to the bank, and until I pay that amount which I have to pay to the bank, the house will be under the custody of the bank, right? So it is my house, but I do not have money to buy that house. It is not my house. I'm going to buy a house from someone else, but I do not have money. So that in that case, I can go to the bank and ask them to give me some money to buy that house. But until I repay, or until I pay the amount and the interest which I borrowed from the bank, the house will be under the custody of the back. So only once I have fully paid the amount, the house would be mine. So that process or that technique is said to be mortgage, right? So we use this kind of processors when we buy large buildings. It can be a large house, or it can be a land area. Likewise, when we want to buy something, and if I do not have enough money, we can go for this kind of a arrangement, right? So I hope that is also clear to you, right? Okay, sorry. So if anyone who would like to read this, so now I showed how we need to read it. So I would like to give all of you the opportunity to read this. So all what you need to do is, just as I read, you can read this list of words where we have silent T, right? Okay, so who would like to try first? All of you will get the opportunity, but anyone who would like to start with? Okay, since Bashita is on the top of my list, Bashita, would you like to try it first?
Which pattern, toaster, watch, butcher, scratch, listen, match, Christmas, mortgage, soften, often.
Right, okay, good. So as I said here, when we read, we do not pronounce the T, right? So that is why we call it as silent T, right? So as an example, mortgage, soften, right? So T, you should not pronounce soften, often, right? So that is what you need to practice here, right? So Ishini, would you like to try?
Which, fasten, castle, watch, butcher, scratch, listen, match, Christmas, mortgage, soften, often.
Yes, very good. So just one thing, this word should be butcher, right? So this is butcher, okay? Right, so I can see Vitulya has raised her hand. So yes, Vitulya, you can try.
Bitch, fasten, castle, watch, butcher, scratch, listen, match, Christmas, mortgage, soften, often.
Okay, so good. So this should be soften, right? So you can try at home. You can try these lists at home so that you can get familiar to pronounce this. So this should be soften, often, right? Okay, good. Then Kalani, would you like to try?
With, fasten, castle, watch, but
Yes, you can go ahead. Butcher.
scratch, list, match, Christmas, mortgage, soft, often.
Right, okay, so I will read all these once again, right? So as I said, the T should be silent, right? So it is okay that if you have made a mistake today, but I'm repeating it because then you will remember, right? So at home, while we are reading, maybe you can write these down so that you can read this at home and practice, right? I will just read it once again before moving to Sulaksha, right? So which, fasten, castle, watch, butcher, scratch, listen, match, Christmas, mortgage, soften, often, right? So here, soften, often, right? So we do not pronounce the T, right? So it's okay. Try it at home, practice at home, and you will improve it, right? Okay, so Sulaksha, would you like to try?
Yes, please. Witch, fasten, castle, watch, butcher, scratch, listen, match, Christmas, mortgage, soften, often.
Yes, very good, right? So all of you try this at home, practice at home, so that you will improve it. You will get used to it when you try it day by day, right? Okay, then I think we can move on to an activity. So I thought we will do the activity 4 in your pupils book, right? So in activity 4 under the unit 2, we have a poem, right? I think earlier also we read a poem. So today we have another poem. Read this poem and answer the questions, right? So anyone who would like to read this? Yes, I can see Vitulya has raised her hand. So yes, Vitulya, you can go ahead.
Snake. A snake can glide from side to side. They are really long. They have long backbones and no hair. They use their tongues to taste the air. They taste your scent. Wise of you.
Vitulya, I do not know whether yes, I think Vitulya got disconnected. I think we were not hearing her properly. So we will just let her join, and until Vitulya joins, anyone else who would like to read? Right, okay, it's okay. So since you have already read few words, maybe I will read it for you. Right, okay. Snakes. A snake can glide from side to side. They are really long and like to hide. They have long backbones, but no hair. They use their tongues to taste the air. They taste your scent if you are near and hiss a threat for you to hear. It's wise of you to clear their way so you don't have an awful day. Right? So I think you heard it. Yes, Vitulya, I can see you have joined. So if you like, you can try it again.
Snakes. A snake can glide from side to side. They are really long and like to hide. They have long backbones but no hair. They use their tongue to taste the air. They taste your scent if you are near and hiss a threat for you to hear. It's wise of you to clear their way so you don't have an awful day.
Yes, good, right? So just we will try before moving on to doing the questions. We will just try to see what is the meaning of all these lines, right? So the first one is a snake can glide from side to side. So do you know what do we mean by glide? Do you know what is the word glide? Anyone who would like to say how the snakes go? So it is how the snakes move, right? So when they move, we can see that they glide. Right? Okay. So that means what do we mean by glide is that we move slowly but continuously, right? So we know when a snake moves, it does not go in a straight line, right? So you can see here even they have a shape, a curvy shape. So they do not move like straight line or a straight stick, I could say. They do not move in that way, just like the dogs move. They do not move that way, but they glide, right? කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් නයි යන්නේ අපි දන්නවා දඟට ගැහිලානේ යන්නේ. අන්න ඒක තමයි දඟට ගැහිලා හෙමින් හෙමින් යනවා. එතකොට ඒකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ glide, right? So glide from side to side, right? And the next one, I think this one, it is easy. They are really long and like to hide. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගොඩාක් දිගයි. ඒ වගේම ඒගොල්ලෝ හැංගිලා ඉන්න කැමති. Right? Next one. They have long backbones but no hair. Right? So what do we mean by backbones? We also have a backbone. Right? So what do we mean by backbone? අපිට තියෙනවා නේද කොඳු ඇටපෙළ කියන. කොඳු ඇටපෙළ කියන එකට තමයි backbones කියන්නේ. Right? So we know that the snake is long. අපි දන්නවා නයි ගොඩාක් දිගයි. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ඇඟ දිගට දිග කොඳු ඇටපෙළක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ, but no hair. Right? Hair කියන්නේ අපි දන්නවා කෙස්. Right? So they do not have hair. Right? They use their tongues to taste the air. ඒගොල්ලෝ වාතය ඒගොල්ලෝ අවට තියෙන වාතය රස බලන්නේ දිවෙන්, right? So what do we mean by tongue? දිව. So ඒගොල්ලෝ දිව පාවිච්චි කරලා තමයි අවට වාතයේ රස බලන්නේ, right? They taste your scent if you are near, right? So they taste your scent if you are near. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ඕගොල්ලෝ ළඟපාතක ඉන්නවද කියලා අපේ සෙන්ට් එකෙන් තමයි දැනගන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ ඇඟෙන් නිපද වෙන අපිට දැනෙන්නේ නැති නමුත් සත්තුන්ට දැනෙන ඉව කියන එක අපි කියන්නේ. ඉව තියෙනවා කියලා. අන්න ඒ ඉව අපි ළඟ ඉන්නවා නම් ඉවෙන් ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිව අඳුර ගන්නවා. Right? And hiss a threat for you to hear. Right? And hiss කියන්නේ අර සර්පයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දෂ්ට කරනවම නෙවෙයි දෂ්ට කරන්න වගේ සද්ද දාන්නේ. අන්න ඒකට තමයි කියන්නේ and hiss a threat for you to hear. අපිට ඇහෙන්න ඒ සද්ද දාන්නේ. Right? It's wise of you to clear their way. It's wise of you to clear their way. ඒගොල්ලෝ යන ගමන් මාර්ගය මැද්දට යන්න නැතුව පැත්තකට වෙලා ඉන්න එක නුවණට හුරුයි කියලා කියන්නේ. Right? Wise කියන්නේ නුවණ ඇති කියන. Right? Wise. So you don't have an awful day. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට නරක දවසක් නැති වෙයි කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි නයි දැක්කොත් නයින්ගේ පාරේ යන්න නැතුව පැත්තකට වෙලා හිටියොත් අපිට අපේ දවස නරක වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Right? So with that, I hope you now are clear with the idea. So we have few questions, right? So we have 6 questions. So maybe we can try to answer one by one, right? So let's do it together, right? Okay, so the first question, what do snakes like to do? What do snakes like to do? Right. So anyone who knows the answer, you can raise your hand. Yes, I can see Kalani has raised her hand. Yes, Kalani, you can try the answer.
To hide.
Yes, correct. To hide, right? So as I have always said, when we write an answer, we have to write it in a full sentence, right? So it is always suggested. It is always good to write the answer as a full sentence. So we can write snakes like to hide, right? Snakes like to hide. Okay. Second question. When does a snake hiss? When does a snake hiss? So you have been given 4 answers. When it is eating, when it hunts for food, when it is threatened, when it uses its tongue. So anyone who can select which one is correct? Yes, again, I can see only Kalani has raised her hand. Okay, so Kalani can go ahead. Which one is correct?
When it is trend.
When it is threatened. C, right? I hope what the answer you meant is C. So when it is threatened, right? So what do we mean by threatened? I think I did not explain it here. Here it says, and hiss a threat for you to hear, right? මං කිව්වේ අර ශබ්ද දානවා කියලා බය කරන්න ඒ කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලොන්ට තර්ජනයක් තියෙනවයි කියලා දැනුනහම තර්ජනය කියන එකට තමයි threat කියන්නේ. So here we have when it is threatened. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔවුන්ව තර්ජනයට ලක් වුණහම තමා they hiss, right? When it is threatened, right? So this is the correct answer, right? Right, so this is the answer, right? Okay, third one. What part of the body, or it should be, I think, which part of the body do snakes use to sense the air? Which part of the body do snakes use to sense the air? Yes, yes, I can see Vitulya has raised her hand. Vitulya, you can try.
Snakes use their tongue to taste the air.
Yes, very good. So snakes use their tongues, right? So whenever we use their, we have to use the plural here as well, right? So snakes use their tongues to sense the air. Right? Snakes use their tongues to sense the air. Okay, then we'll move on to the fourth one, right? So this is easy. The poet thinks people should stay away from snakes, pick up snakes, wear shoes when they walk by snakes, keep snakes as pets. Right, so I can see Sulaksha has raised her hand. Sulaksha?
Stay away from snakes.
Yes, very good. So they have to, or we have to stay away from snakes, right? The poet thinks the people should stay away from snakes, right? Okay, then move on. We will move on to the fifth question. Write 3 facts about snakes that you learned from the poem, right? Write 3 facts about snakes that you learned from the poem, right? So what do we mean by facts? Facts කියන්නේ කරුණු. අපි ඒ කියන්නේ මෙතනදී කියන්නේ අපිට මේ poem එකෙන් අපි මේ 9 සර්පයින් ගැන දැනගත්ත කරුණු 3ක් ලියන්න කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Right. So you can suggest any facts you identified? Yes, anyone? Okay, Bashita, would you like to try?
Snakes can glide from side to side.
Yes, snakes can glide from side to side. And any other? Bitulya, yes, you can try.
Snakes have backbones and they use their tongue to taste the air.
Yes, very good. So snakes have backbones. Backbones, and then they use tongues to taste the air. And anything else? We have written 3 already, but can we find anything else? Yes, Kalani, anything you noticed?
They are really long and like to hide.
Yes, they are really long. Yes, that is also correct. Right, so they are really long. And we can say they like to hide. Right, so all these things are facts, right? So these are things which we learned. Right, okay, so likewise, you can write few others as well, I think. Yes, right, so we can say they hiss when they see a threat, right? So likewise, we can find other answers as well. Right, okay, then we will move on to the last question. We need to find rhyming words, right? I hope you know what are rhyming words, as I think I have explained earlier also. That is that they have a similar sound when we end a corresponding word, right? So let's say cat and bat, right? So when we use cat and bat, the starting letter is C and B, but the ending letter is AT. Both ends with the same letter, so it has the same sound when we end the word, right? So cat, bat, and then we can say long, strong, right? So likewise, if it has the same sound when we end the word, we can say they are rhyming words, right? So for the words which are given here, we have rhyming words, right? So the first one, way, right? Okay, Hansika, would you like to try a rhyming word for way?
Day.
Yes, very good. Day, right? So way, day, right? So it is rhyming because the ending is more or less the same. Okay, the second one, side. Maybe Sulaksha, would you like to try?
Hide.
Hide. Yes, very good. Hide, right? Side, hide. And then we have air. Maybe Bashita, would you like to try?
Hair.
Hair. Yes, very good. That is hair. Air, hair. Right. Last one, near. Maybe Kalani, yes, you can try. Yes, Kalani, you can try.
Here.
Yes, here, right? Okay, so where, there, side, hide, air, here, near, here, right? So these are rhyming words, right? And then I just thought that we will not go on to activity 5 today because it is a little bit long. So in the next lesson, we will start with this activity where we have to read a lot and then also to find answers for these questions. So since we did couple of examples using the apostrophe, so I think you might remember in the workbook, we actually did few, right? I just wanted to do these exercises so that you do understand where we use apostrophe, right? So we saw that when we want to express that something is owned by someone, right? So Lahiru's pen, Purni's frock, right? And also we saw that when we want to combine two words and to make a single word, we use the apostrophe, right? So these two are two methods which we use the apostrophe, and there are different ways or different reasons why we use apostrophe, right? So here we can see when do we use apostrophe, right? So the first one is show the omission of a letter, right? That means contraction, right? So what do we mean by omission, right? So omission. So generally, I think you might have heard the word omit, right? So the word omit means we remove it, right? So you might remember when we were combining I am, we removed a and we removed the space and we used the apostrophe, right? So omission means removing. We remove a letter, right? So when we combine two words and build a single word, and when we are removing, when we remove only one letter, right? So that is why it says omission of a letter. So here from am, I'm removing a. And you are, here also we remove this a. And here he is, from this is we remove this I. So he is, she is, she is, right? It is, it's, right? We are, we are. So when we remove only one letter, we can use the apostrophe, right? So whose, here's, let's, that's, theirs, their. In each of these words, you can see we have removed I, you, or it, right? So when we convert two letters into one word by removing one letter, we can use apostrophe. And that is actually in a positive way, right? So that is I am, right? I am here. So I can say I'm here. So I'm talking about something positive, right? But when we are omitting a letter, again in here also we are omitting a letter, but it is like negative, right? Or else when we are using as a question, right? So we can say they are not coming here today, right? So we can say they are not coming here today. So instead of are not, we can use aren't. So this is negative. So when we want to say something negative, also we have to remove only this O, right? So you can see are not, and here we have are, and N is also here, T is also here. We have removed O, right? And by doing it, we actually make a negative word, right? Are not, aren't, or else when we making a question, right? So I can say, aren't you coming to my place today? Right? So that is negative. Aren't you coming to my place today? අද අපේ ගෙදර ඔයා එන්නේ නැද්ද කියලා අපි අහන්නේ. ඔයා අද අපේ ගෙදර එන්නේ නැද්ද කියලා, එන්නේ නැද්ද කියලා අහන්නේ. That is negative. So negative in a question as well as in a normal sentence we can use aren't, right? And when it comes to is not, it is again isn't, right? So here also we remove O, the mid letter, right? But when it comes to the next two, we can see we are removing more than one letter, right? So here again, I have, and we are removing both H and A, right? So we remove both H and A, and we end up with I've, right? I have, but here we have I've, right? I will, I'll do it tomorrow. I can say I will do it tomorrow, or else I can say I'll do it tomorrow. So when we do it, you can see we remove two letters. Here also two letters. Here I'd, I would, I'd. So here we are removing four letters, right? So even when we contract two words into a single word, maybe when we're removing more than one letter also, we can use the apostrophe, right? And then again, negative and a question, but here also omission of letters. Here again, letters, right? Earlier, these two categories was where we remove only one letter, right? So we were removing only one letter, but these two categories are where we remove more than one letter, right? So I've, here we have removed HA, and here will not, right? So here you can see we are removing letters not only from the second word, but we remove from the first word as well, right? So will not, right? Will not, I will not come tomorrow, right? We generally say I will not come tomorrow to school because I'm sick, right? Instead of will not, we can say I won't come to school tomorrow because I'm sick, right? So when we do this, what we have done, we have removed this ILL, as well as we have removed this O also, right? So W from will, it is only W which is remained, and from here 0 is removed. So we remove more than one letter, and even here from both the words, right? Will not, won't, right? So won't you come to school tomorrow, right? So likewise, even when we are asking a question, or even when we are writing a negative sentence, we can do this contraction, right? Cannot, right? We know cannot. Instead of writing cannot, we can remove this N and O, and we can say can't. I cannot come tomorrow, or else I can say I can't come tomorrow, right? So likewise, you can see if we want to contract two words into a single word, either by removing one letter or either by removing few letters, we can use, or we need to use, the apostrophe, right? And the other one is, if you remember, we did this, the ownership, right? So if I want to say this is, let's say there is a bag, right? If that bag is owned by my friend, I will say that is my friend's bag, right? So that is my friend's bag, right? So that is, I'm telling that it is owned by my friend. So when we want to show an ownership, we use the apostrophe, right? So you can see Rahal's bat, Abdul's book, Anne's pencil, and Yoga's bicycle, right? So when we want to show the ownership, we can use this apostrophe, right? But here you need to know that we do not use the apostrophe for few pronouns, few, to be specific, possessive pronouns, right? So when you use yours, we do not use apostrophe. His, hers, ours, theirs, its, right? So that is, even though we are telling that it is theirs, his, right? So his means, let's say this is his mother, right? So we say this is his mother means ohuge amma, right? So that is ownership. But in the word his, we do not use the apostrophe, right? So you need to keep these words in your mind when you write, even though it gives us the ownership or an ownership, here also hers, we do not use the apostrophe s, right? So we simply write it as a simple word, right? So these are the things which I wanted to highlight, because we have already done these things. So I just wanted to show what are the rules that we have to use. So this is the rules given where we need to use the apostrophe, right? So going with this, later we will continue with these activities. So here also there is activities, there are few activities where we can practice on using the apostrophes, as well as here also there are few activities which we can practice on using apostrophe, right? So since our time has ended, we will stop the lesson for today. So we will meet again next week. So as I said, next week, Monday, we will do this activity 5, right? So I would like you to read this activity 5 at home, right? So you will be reading this, right? So I will give part by part to each one of you so that you can read it to us. So practice at home, try to read this, and then we will do this activity on Monday, and then maybe Wednesday we will do the activities related to the apostrophes, right? So as the homework for today, read this, the activity 5, it's a little bit long, about 2 pages. Practice this, reading this, and also try to find the answers by yourself. So when we do this, you will get them correct, right? So then we will stop from here for today, and we will meet next Monday. So until then, good night, and stay safe, all of you.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
You're welcome.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Good night to all of you, and
Thank you,
welcome.
teacher.
You're welcome, Bashita.